Hey, so another quick little chat about mental health consultative examinations. Um, it's not unusual sometimes when someone who's mostly in their own mind, filing because of a physical disability, um, they have, it's so confusing why the Social Security Administration might then schedule them for a mental status exam consultative examination. And they're not unusual at all. So I hear the question all the time. And just to put everybody's mind at ease, obviously, if you're filing because of you believe that your mental illness is the thing that keeps you out of work versus something else, they're very well going to set you up for a MSc consultative exam. And that's likely because the evidence needed from your own treating provider has got to be so terribly strong. When I say strong, I mean detailed, where they give the goods. It's kept confidentially at Social Security Administration, so there's really no reason for them not to, but oftentimes they don't. So now you're lacking in the details needed to convince the SSA that your capacity to do certain mental tasks all day long. This could include accepting criticism from supervisors without maybe getting overly upset, tolerating the feckless nature of some of your coworkers who might get on your nerves. And as we all know, we have to tolerate quite a bit from others when we're on the job. So those that, for mental capacity reasons, can't do that reliably enough for any particular job, and particular jobs require different varying amounts of that kind of capacity. So, and that's just one, I'm just giving you a couple examples of the mental skills. I'm going to call them skills for lack of a better word, but the things that we need to be able to do to be able to perform even the most basic of jobs. Okay. So, all right. So you get scheduled for a consultative examination, but you are not one of those people who are like, no, I am so agoraphobic, I can't even get out of the house to go to any job outside of the house. If you're not one of those people, you might be like, why are they saying this? Well, somewhere along the way, and I'm going to speak generally, there's been a notation about anxiety or depression. It could be situational, it could be short term, it could be very mild. Let's face it, we know what's going on in the world around us amongst many of our fellow people. Many people do either have or think they have, I'd say oftentimes it's anxiety and or depression. And I'm not talking severe, I'm not talking suicidal, I'm not talking jumping off a bridge or needing hospitalization or even extreme therapy. But the SSA, if you're not treating for it, but they see in the record, does have a duty to look at everything that comes up as possibly an impairment. And that's to your benefit, because there are some jobs that, well, I should say, as I try to describe visually, if you're tasked with having to prove through medical evidence that you cannot do a single one of, and really sometimes they want to see 3, but let's just go with this occupation that exists in substantial numbers in the economy. Any one of the nearly 12,000 or more, I think it's more than 12,000 supposed jobs that exist in substantial numbers, you can't prevail on your Social Security disability or SSI claim. So that's a big burden that you have of eliminating all those jobs. Now, you may have been taken out of your job, and many others that are similar but different industries, perhaps ones that have the same exertional level required, but now you can't do that exertional level because maybe you have some nerve impingement in your back. So you would be at a much more limited exertional level. It could be a variety of physical impairments that could cause that. So now you're out of your job. You definitely can't do it because yours requires on your feet 8 hours a day and you're lifting 7,500 pounds. Okay. So you file for disability because you can't do your job, and that is the only job you've had for 20 years. Maybe it's in construction or something very arduous. So you file for disability. That's not going to likely get you where you need to be, particularly if you're under 50. It's not necessarily going to get you where you need to be either if you're over 50. So don't just assume that. In fact, I'd say you have a lot more work to do to even prevail in that particular arena that has some slightly different laws applied. So what can be done about it? Well, and this is going to apply for the over 50 crowd more so, but under 40s, it can come back at you later. So if you have anxiety or depression and your prior job was, say, high skilled in knowledge, and when we go from high skilled, we're expected to be able to do high skilled going all the way across the 12,000 jobs. So you can't do the one you had, but you could transfer those skills because you still have the capacity to do that. You don't have reduced concentration. You don't have reduced focus. No anxiety or depression that causes even a small amount of reduced concentration or focus throughout the day. Maybe getting off task, getting distracted easily. That could be because one is worrying about things, or otherwise just gets distracted by peripheral things. If you don't have something to show that, then you are going to likely be found not disabled. If you do have that, and again, it's I want to call it garden variety anxiety and depression, but it's really important for some of these jobs to be carved out that you could otherwise do from a physical standpoint. Because trust me when I say it's going to be very hard for you to prove, this is for most people, that you're unable to do a sedentary job or a sit-stand option sedentary job for an 8-hour day. It almost doesn't matter how bad your back is. Or that neuropathy in your feet, or severe shoulder pain even when you're just sitting there. It's just something that takes a little more needle threading to do. So this is one way. The SSA, their job is tasked with finding out about this. And since they're not going to go tell you to go get therapy, which somebody else might tell you to do, and get it evaluated and, get some ongoing documentation as to its existence and those symptoms that we're talking about. But they will send you to their MSc consultative examination doctor, which is usually a psychologist, or it might be a psychiatric professional. I believe sometimes they can even use nurse practitioners now. So they will keep it to the specialty. They're generally not going to send you to a primary care doctor or family doctor or an internist for an MSc consultative exam. But that is why, because there was something they have to legally, and there is an effect it can have on your residual functional capacity assessment, which is required in every case to be determined by the SSA. So they can send you to their person who, depending on how honest you are with your issues, it may be something that works in your favor, or it may be something that doesn't work in your favor, to help fill in that little checkbox of whether there is reduction in some of the needs of transferring skills, such as the concentration, the focus, distractibility, all that kind of stuff. So don't take offense if you can help it when it happens. I mean, if it's my client, I'm going to be expecting him to do more than that, because again, the consultative examiners they're like a snapshot, and it all depends on what you say on that day and how you answer questions. A lot of people who don't consider themselves to have a disorder, and by the way, I'm not saying it is a disorder. We all have anxiety. I don't know that means we have a disorder. I think it's kind of normal, actually, but we're talking under the law here. They go in blind, and they, really, really, really play it down. But the reason why the SSA saw it again was because somewhere in the record, it could have been in a mental a medical record from your physical doctor where maybe it was passed along that you were feeling anxious. You said you had a lot of stress lately. Maybe you weren't sleeping well because you were worrying. Boom, bingo. It could also have been that you mentioned it on a function report. If you might recall, question 20 on your function report gives that list of various kind of tasks, physical and mental. And some of the mentals include memory, concentration, completing tasks can be mental or physical, getting along with others. If you find yourself slightly more irritable, and you snap at people when you wouldn't otherwise, that can affect job performance, ability to interact properly with coworkers, supervisors, and the public, which is an SSA arena. I think there's also understanding is one of those boxes. So you might have checked off concentration. And I'll give you another thing. Who doesn't lose a sense of concentration when they're in chronic pain? So if you're having a case where your physical problems are causing you chronic pain that you say makes you unable to actually do anything full time, because pain can be really interruptive, you just answered your own question, because you would not be able to concentrate. Do you pay your bills in the middle of an intense migraine? Probably not. Do you pay your bills when your back is spasming and you're in a recliner chair trying to get it under control with some maybe anti-spasmodic medication or hot pad or icing or whatever? Probably not. Why is that? Oh, well, it might be because your concentration is not there. You can't even think about that. You cannot focus on that. So these are the things that are really, 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 I can't even emphasize how important they are. Without them, without pursuing this line, I can't even imagine how many cases would be lost that I have. It's really, really important. So if people are out there with the same kind of cases and they don't have someone directing in this area, and they don't go to a consultative examination assigned by the SSA, or they don't answer fully honestly about some of these mental disruptions we have, listen to that sun. Did I say listen to that sun? Yeah, I can almost hear it. No, I can hear the wind though. Yeah, it's very bright. But yeah, so go to the consultative exam MSc. You have to anyway. If you don't, it invariably will mean that you're going to lose. I've never seen someone who didn't go come out with a win. Okay, because the reason why they're saying you have to go is because the finding would be relevant, potentially relevant. So, okay. That all being said, don't worry if you get the MSc. Don't take offense. It doesn't mean that you are crazy, or it doesn't even mean you need treatment. It's just something that they have to do. Now, if it were me, I would be saying, maybe you should go get a little therapy. It'll help bulk up that information and be a little more credible than a one-hit wonder consultative examination, to really show that it is something that you deal with on a day-to-day basis. Whether or not it's 24/7 is another story. But, during those heightened pain times or what have you, or worrying times, you would be off the high mark of concentration. And if you're in a job that requires kind of concentrating all day long, you might not be able to do that job. All right. And that is what you're trying to prove. All right. Take care now. Bye.